Okay, we'll start with Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Ram Devu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम। और मैं श्री प्रभुपाद कर गया।
Hear
me, Prabhu?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so let's begin with the Kirtan. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana
Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana 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 Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Harinam Sankirtan Yajna ki
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai,
Nitai Gaur Premanande
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So let's begin with the Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjala Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamelam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुवदेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much to everybody for joining. So we'll begin with our discussion today. Let us begin with this. Okay. So we will continue our study of nectar of instruction. That is also called Uddeshamrit. So on which we will be discussing. So far we have discussed 7 verses. We'll quickly recap. The purpose of nectar of instruction is to step by step take us ahead in the bhakti. As we know, there are 9 devotional steps through which we can reach to prema bhav. So nectar of instruction help us go there if we follow those instructions. Like just by reading, somebody cannot become a doctor. They have to study, they have to prepare. Similarly, we have to apply this knowledge which is shared by Srila Rupa Goswami. And then we can start from Shraddha and reach to the level of Bhava. So Shraddha is nothing but like having little faith that, okay, there is a Bhagwan, there is somebody who is having higher power, exists, and we should worship. So that's little bit of Shraddha. We all start with that. Even if you have to go to some place, we have little faith. Okay, place will be safe. There will be protection. There will be food. There will be enough place for rest. Everything will be there. We go with that faith. And then after faith, what happens? We start associating with the pure devotees. When we associate with the devotees, this is where the changes happen. As soon as we associate with the devotees, because of their association, we start doing bhajan. Somebody will suddenly say, Prabhu, how are you doing? How is your chanting going on? And says, oh, I'm not chanting. Oh, why are you not chanting? No, Prabhu, I don't get time, so busy, so much work. Yeah, everybody is busy. Even the Prime Minister also has got 24 hours. We also have 24 hours. So, but he does so much work. Can we do that much? We cannot. So can we do a little bit of, then he said, okay, I will start with 1 round. Starting 1 round with a lot of difficulty. And suddenly we see in 2 years' time, he's chanting 16 rounds. So how this happened? Because of the association of the pure devotees. And our bhajan kriya has started because of association. And not just chanting, we start going to temple, we start hearing katha, we start joining Bhakti Vriksha, we go associate, we start Janmashtami, we go in the festivals, we do start some service. Say, Prabhu, I will do some service. I can do prasadam distribution service. I can do some temple cleanup service. Different service begins. As we begin this, our cleaning process of our heart begins. So Cheto Darpana Marjan, when the vessel is dirty, we have to clean it again and again. Similarly, we have been carrying impression for many lives in our mind. And as we know, when the death occurs, the physical body is given away, but the mind, intelligence, and ego, they travel with us. These 3 things travel with us. Because they are subtle. Yeah, false ego, they travel.
They travel with soul.
They travel with the soul. When you get, but you don't remember, but you have those impressions. And then you carry that impression. So,
and then this soul enters into some other body, so
yes,
that is carried on to that person also.
Correct. Yes.
Enters.
I will talk about that. Examples are there, from the Shastra, that we know that how somebody is able to now, for example, in the recent order also.
Intelligence, ego, and
mind. These things are subtle. You cannot see them. For example, somebody say, we cannot see these 4 things. See, body is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, panch Mahabhut, right? And then these 3 things. What is that 3 things? Mind?
No, I'm
Mind intelligence.
intelligence and ego I can connect, but mind means
The subtle elements and gross elements.
Correct. So this is called subtle element, which we cannot see. For example, you are thinking, oh, my mind is going there. We say, we don't say my brain is going there.
okay. I'm able to.
So that is hardware and software use.
One.
Man. Yes. So for example, there is a hardware and software in computer. We call the computer is hardware, then you have to put a program. So that program is like a man, your mind. So these things travel with us. So whatever we have done in whichever life, those impressions are carried. We may not remember them. Likely that we will not remember.
Like the hard disk is there without zero formatting.
Then somebody can retrieve it. But Krishna knows what is there inside. So we are talking IT language, looks like, so people can relate it easily.
Really understand.
So when we start associating with the devotees, start doing japa, start reading Srimad Bhagavatam, then the anartha nivritti happens. What are the anartha? 6 anarthas we have, right? Kama, krodha, moha, matsarya. That is like, lust, anger, greed, jealousy, what else? Pride, and what else? False ego is there. Ram Prabhu, what is the 6th one? Everybody is forgetting.
Yes, Prabhu.
We are talking about 6 anarthas. LAG, leg is lust, anger, greed. That's easy to remember. LAG is the most dangerous. Basically, it is considered that lust, anger, greed is it will open door for arrogance. Arrogance is like a pride. So that is pride. So false ego. So these 6 things are very dangerous. Now anybody who has got this 6 thing cannot do bhakti. If you have lust, you cannot. If you have anger, you cannot. One cannot. If you have greed, we cannot. If you have pride, we cannot. Any of this, if you have jealousy towards others, we cannot. So any of the 6 anarthas will not allow us to do bhakti. So that cleaning has to happen. And that cleaning will happen how? By associating with devotee, by hearing Harikatha. And today's topic is primarily on listening. How to do bhajan. So we'll see that. So after anartha nivritti, our faith and steadiness happens. We become steady in our bhakti, sadhana. We start doing this. We chant wherever we go. We are always meditating on Krishna and say, I want to chant. We will not allow a moment to get wasted. Everybody agrees that if we lose a moment, can we buy back by spending millions of dollars? We cannot. So, one moment spent unattentively cannot be bought by millions of dollars of hard-earned money. So, how much attention we have to pay for every moment that we are spending in our life? So, we will make sure we do start. Nishtha will come, the faith will come, steadiness will come in our sadhana. We have become very regular. It's not that sometimes we are chanting somewhere, sometimes we are not chanting. Sometimes we are doing Ekadashi, sometimes say, oh, it's too much, let's not. I'm traveling, so I'm not able to do it. We find excuses to not do bhajan if we are not steady. But if you are steady, we're rock solid, under any circumstances, we will follow our principles. This principle must be followed, regardless of what we do, right? So that's what called nishtha. Then once we become steady, what happens? We develop taste. Then we just want to do that, So when we start eating nice prasadam, we start associating with devotees. We only want to reach prasadam. We don't want to go to a restaurant and eat something. So that kind of test will happen. Attraction come for Harinam. I want to do deity worship. I want to do Shringar. This thing will happen. And then once we do that, Asakti, Bhav and Prem, that happens. We get attached to that Harinam. We are constantly thinking about Krishna and Radha. And that's where the Bhav and Prem happens. So Bhav, this is a very high level of bhakti. But we can go there. Anybody can go there. Anybody can go there. So we'll not go there, but let's go with the discussion straight. So here, so far, we have finished 7, and we talked about Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, the 7 steps, 6 steps we will talk about. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha and Ruchi. This is what we have discussed so far. Now we are talking about Asakti, getting attached to something. How we can develop that? That is what Nectar of Instruction will tell us. So, till 7th verse, it was more of a sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means you are having some support. Somebody has to wake you up. Please chant. Somebody call you, Prabhu, you are coming to temple. Are you doing Ekadasi? We have to send reminders. Please do Ekadasi. Tomorrow is fasting. Don't. Why? Because we are not ready for that. So somebody has to push. Like, when child has to go to school, we have to wake them up. Hey, wake up. But when we grow up, what happens? We have to go to office. Nobody has to. We just wake up on our own. We put alarm and start going. But as a child, we need support. So till 7th verse, we are like support system. We are living on a support system. Somebody is helping us. But from here, 8th step onward, now we enter where we start doing things on our own. Meaning nobody has to tell, please chant. Nobody has to tell, Prabhuji, tomorrow is Ekadashi. We keep looking, when is Ekadashi? And we start fasting. So these things start happening when we go into Raganuga Bhakti. So Raganuga Bhakti is where we are feeling intense love for Radha and Krishna. We just want to do that bhajan. That is what our mind is. Absorbed with only that. So that stage has to be developed. And we all can go there. Because it's like a spontaneous love for Radha Krishna. Nobody has to tell us. We just start loving. So that is what we are going to talk about today. So let us recite this verse. This is a shloka number 8. Yes, so we can read that. Tannama rupa charita disu kirtananu smrutyo kramena rasana manasi niyojya Tisthen vraje tat anuragi jananugami
Tadanugragi jananugami
kalam nayed akhilam iti upadesha saram
kalam nayedakilam ityabudeshataram.
So let us read the translation. So Ram Prabhu, are you able to read the translation?
Yes, Prabhu. Translation. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Braja, Golaka Vrindavan Dhama, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ram Prabhu. So let's pay attention to some of the key words in this. So what is being told? We have to chant 24 hours. And also how we should chant? Nicely. Not that we are hurrying it up, right? Or we are sleeping on sofa and Hare Krishna.
It's enthusiastic rounds.
Enthusiastic, yes. We just studied about that in the 3rd verse. We talk about what is the verse we say? We say that we should chant with 3 things. In 3 things are required in bhakti. What is that? Utsaha, Nischaya, and Dhairya.
Diarrhea.
These 3 things are required. Enthusiasm. We should have a lot of enthusiasm. We should have confidence. And then we should have patience also. Like a woman who gets married and suddenly say, oh, I want a child next month. That's not possible. There's a process. It will take 9, 10 months. So similarly, here also we all have to have patience. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So we have to absorb chanting 24 hours a day. Now one may ask, how can I keep chanting? Then when will I work? I have to cook, I have to go to office, so much coding, programming, I have to manage my team members, manage my boss. So how do I do it? Well, as long as we are working for Krishna, meaning that whatever we do, we offer it back to Krishna. It is like absorbing Krishna consciousness. Of course, we as a Grahastha cannot give up our family responsibility. We have to execute that. We have to take care of everybody. So that is required. So we have to do that. But point here is being told is that we should not waste even a moment, ideally, doing something non-Krishna conscious activities. And how do we have to do this? Under the guidance of a senior devotee, somebody who is a senior, somebody who is a Nitya Siddha Bhakta. Under their guidance, we should do our bhakti. Because then they will always tell us that you have to do this and don't do this. This is how you can advance. It's like a coach or a guide that comes in our life, and they will help us do our bhakti very nicely. And we should follow the footstep of the previous acharyas and the great devotees. Like if somebody wants to become, a real estate agent, you want to start a business, then what he has to do? He has to associate with people who are doing real estate business. So he understands nuances of business, how to do, what permissions are required. All those things they will know. But if he associate with some sports people, will he be able to become a good real estate agent? No, because they are talking about baseball and basketball and football, and this is a very different thing. So similarly, whichever way we want to go, we have to follow what others are doing. So associate and follow the devotees. So this is what it is there. So let us take some references from the Shastra, and we'll answer the question the Mataji was talking about, that how the man remember how it goes along with us. So here, Robert, are you able to see it? Can you read that?
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. The soul's designation, the mind, is the cause of all tribulations in the material world. As long as this fact is unknown to the conditioned living entity, he has to accept the miserable conditions of the material body and wander within this universe in different positions. Because the mind is affected by disease, lamentation, illusion, attachment, greed, and enmity, it creates bondage and a false sense of intimacy within this material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is taken from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, the story of Jad Bharat. So Jad Bharat, and we'll answer those questions about how the mind goes. So let's study that a little bit. So Jad Bharat, in his previous birth, 2 births before, he was King Bharat, from where our country is named Bharat. They came from that. So he was a great king. He was very pious, he was very nice devotee, he's doing very good bhajan. And after doing all his duties, giving his kingdom back to his sons to run it, he said, now I'm taking sannyas, following the varnashram, right? Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, sannyasa. So he went to forest. He started living in a small ashram. So there, he was doing all his bhajan very nicely, because he has left, he has a great kingdom has been left. It's like a billionaire will start living in a small hut, which is unimaginable. We cannot think about it. But here he is living. He gave up everything, kingdom, family, his children. He said, you do it, I'll take care. Now, when he was doing his bhajan once, in the evening, there was a she deer, who was running because a tiger or a lion was following her. And as soon as she was trying to jump from a river, suddenly, she gave birth to the child, the baby deer, and she died. So now when Bharat Maharaj saw this, he had a lot of compassion. Any devotee means he will have compassion. But his compassion become attachment. So he got attached to that small baby, thinking that, oh, what will happen to this baby? Who will take care? The tiger might eat it. Let me take it with me. When he grows, it will go away. So he brings into the ashram. Now it's a small baby. What to do? You have to feed. When you bring a baby, you have to put him up drinking milk. Everything has to be done. He was doing all these things. The deer, obviously, when you take care of the animal, what happens? They love you back more than we love them. They will start loving us. That happened. So this deer were grown, but it will always come back to Bharat Maharaj. When he's doing his sandhya in the evening, the deer will come, rub his body, then he will stop doing, he'll take care of the deer. So basically, he got attached to deer so much that he started neglecting his daily routine. And attached so much that when he was dying, because he aged and he was to die, he started thinking, oh my God, I'm dying. What will happen? Who will take care of this deer? Now I am living. Like in that thought, he left the body. When he left the body with that thought, what happened? He took birth as a deer. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Tyajanteva kalevaram. Whatever you think at the time of death, you will become that. That is very clear. Krishna has mentioned that very clearly. If you think of Krishna, that's why Ajamil's story, we know that when he was dying, he remembered Krishna and then he said, Narayan, though in ignorance, but he still went to Vaikuntha. So here he became a deer. Now he became a deer, but because of his pious activity, he was like, roaming around the ashram. In the jungle also, he was roaming around ashram. And sitting with Brahman and all those things. After he died, the deer died, he took birth as again a human in a very pious Brahman family. Now he was able to remember all his past life, that what all mistakes he has made. He said, oh, I was a king, I left everything, I got attached to a deer, and because of that attachment, I became deer in the next life, and then I died, now I become this. So I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to get attached. So he behaves like a very jad, means like a very mandabuddhi, kind of a child. Everything is like a fool. He doesn't know anything. And he was behaving like, but he was very paramhamsa. So this is where we know that the mind has traveled with him. He is able to remember all his past lives. Now everybody cannot remember. Because Krishna says he will take everything from when you die, he takes away everything. Only Krishna remembers our past, present, and future. And not for the one person, for everybody. That too so many lives. That's a terabyte, petabyte, zettabyte, whatever we say, memory. We cannot fathom it. So now we just talked about mind. And the mind is the cause of all the problems. All the problems are caused by mind. So therefore, now let's focus on how to control the mind. So here, there are two things. First is why to train the mind. Right? Why we should train the mind, that question may come up. And second is that how to train the mind. So we'll focus on these and say how we should train the mind. So let's study about why to train the mind. We'll go into bigger things, or we'll see this. So we're talking about these impressions. We talked about this in the beginning, that mind carries impression of thousands of lives that we have lived before. It carries all the impressions. For example, when some child, when you grow, in a 3-4 years, they are able to sing Bhagavad Gita very nicely. Some 3-4-year-old child has become a very great artist. You say, how come he has got natural? We call that a natural talent, right? God-gifted child, all those words are used. But if you go back to the Shastra and scriptures, it's really clearly mentioned that how these things are come. Because of the past karma, past all the activity that they have done, they are able to do that again. So this is what, mind is all about. Then, as we know, our soul transmigrates, means from one body to another. His soul never dies. It transferred from one body to another. So whichever body we get, obviously in an animal body we cannot remember, we cannot think anything like that. But when we become human, again those impressions comes with us. And then we start acting like that. Many times comes in a dream. Sometimes we are able to recollect something old. There are so many examples there, where people talk about birth, what they call it as a past life regression or something like that, where you're able to remember something from the past. Purva Janam, yes. Past life regression is what they call it as. And there is a beautiful book on this. Many masters, many lives. Many lives, many masters, So that book specifically talks about the soul transmigration. So that is there. So if we are going to die remembering something abominable, then what happens? We'll take that birth. And whatever we have been doing throughout our life, that is the thing we'll remember. Will we remember anything else?
Ajamil, he remembered Narayan.
So Ajamil is an exception, Madhuri. Because many times, when we say, in youngsters, in temple, sometimes they ask, after they hear all this, which is your favorite character in Bhagavad? They say Ajamil. They say, why Ajamil? Oh, he enjoyed his life and also went to Vaikuntha. But we may not get that opportunity. It's like, getting a lottery, because one person won, let's invest money. Are you going to get lottery? You may not be getting it, right? So it's like a gamble. Because this is the question which was asked to Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada was giving class in Los Angeles. And after the class is over, obviously at that time there are a lot of new people were there. One person came and asked Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, you say Krishna and we should only think about Krishna. But just imagine, you are doing so much. You're doing this tapasya, sadhana, dancing, all these things. And at the time of death, you die and you come to know there is no Krishna. What happens? No problem. I enjoyed my life. I was dancing, I was singing, I was kirtan, I was eating nice prasadam. What's the problem? I enjoyed my life. So no problem with that. Then Prabhupada asked him, what if you enjoy your life, don't remember Krishna, and you come to know there is Krishna? Then what happens? Now what? It's like, somebody says, oh, exam is postponed. And now suddenly in the newspaper comes, no, exam is tomorrow. Now what happens? Now what happens? That's the problem. Hare Krishna. Please come. Hare Krishna now. Hare Krishna, Buddha, please come. So what happens now? So this is what it is. Because our scripture very clearly indicates that, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. All our scripture mentions that. Only if somebody who doesn't read scripture will have this kind of questions. And that's what happens today. Because people generally, I don't have time. When you say, can you please read Bhagavad Gita? Oh, I'm so busy, so much work is there, I have no time. So much work is happening in my life. I have no time. When they're a child, they say, I have to study. When they grow up, I have to go to college. When they I have to get married. Oh, I have children, I have to take care of them. I have to take care of their marriage. I mean, there is no end. So we have to find time in whichever age we are to read Srimad Bhagavatam, chant, this is very, very important. And if we inculcate this habit at a very young age, then that will be very, very beneficial. For example, this Arnav, he comes and reads Srimad Bhagavatam every day with us. Now we find that those words, how he is pronouncing very difficult words. But he comes and reads with that. Now he makes mistakes, Mataji helps, but he is learning. So he may not understand that what is Sukadeva Goswami. He says Sukadeva Goswami said this, all this he will say. He may not understand. But thing is that, as I mentioned, the Cheto Darpana, that cleaning process has started for him. And that will help him in his future to get associated. The moment he thinks about, somebody says, oh, yes, I was reading this, he will be able to recollect this. Because he is like 6, 7 years old and he is reading this. So that's amazing. Initially when he used to come, he will read just one shloka. Then he developed tests. He said, can I read 5 shloka? Because everybody has to read five shloka. That's how we go in sequence. So he reads now 5 shloka. Isn't it? Yeah. So this is attachment. That he'll be there. So this is how we need to train our mind. Because if we don't practice Krishna consciousness, we don't know what our next birth going to be. At least by practicing Krishna consciousness, we are ensuring that we are not going to hell. By chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are ensuring we are not going to hell. That's first. Second, our birth will be in some pious family where we can do some bhajan. We'll be taking birth in an aristocrat family, in a Brahman family, where we can do this bhajan again. So therefore, the chanting is required. At least to get the reservation. Next life, where will I be? We don't know where we'll go. Right? So this is required. Now, why mind control is required? And let's see how the mind play with us. Okay. So we have created an acronym for mind. So he says, look at the mind before you look with the mind. Means you have to look at your mind at what mind is doing before you use the mind to see something. Now here we are saying, what does mind do? It magnifies the problems. So when you say, Prabhu, we have to chant in the Brahma Murta, 4 o'clock, wake up. Mind says, oh, it's too cold. Yeah, you can wake up. Tomorrow is Sunday. You have a whole day to chant. And then mind magnify the problem. Then we say, oh, you have been working so late. I think you need some rest. Mind is telling all these things. Mind is giving us, all the excuses. And we fall prey to that. Oh, yeah. I think I was there till midnight. I will tomorrow, if I don't do, then I'll have a problem. So better sleep for some more. Maybe, snooze. The snooze never wakes up. It goes off. So it will magnify the problem. Then it will imagine pleasure. Oh, if I sleep, it's so cozy. Winter. Here we have all control environment, so we don't understand. But actually, if you go to India, there's no control. So at least in winter, there you will really feel the cold, right? Especially in the north side of the country, you feel the cold. And then you don't feel like coming out of the blanket. You say, this is the best place. Yeah, you're all inside that. So we imagine pleasure. Oh, this is the pleasure. But we are not seeing that this pleasure is going to create problem in the future. Sometimes some people eat a lot of food thinking that I'm very hungry because food is tasty. And what happens next day? They have a stomach problem. Why? Because of the pleasure. They want to have pleasure. So mind will be giving this. It will imagine pleasure. If I do this, I will get pleasure. Everybody has thought about it, isn't it? If I go to America, life will be perfect. Settled. Prabhu, once I'm going to visa, my life is perfect. But when we come here, then we have to do everything by ourselves. Jhadu, pocha and all that. We think, oh man, what happened? This is,
very tough life.
Yeah, very tough life. Because in India, you get everything.
Yeah.
You just have to sit on your sofa and do a chant. And everything will be taken care. And everything will be taken care. Yes, everything will be taken care. But here, you have to do everything and then do all japa also. That becomes even difficult. So that imagines pleasure. Then it does neglects opportunity. Sometimes, we have nice Harikatha going on. Mind says, no, but there is a great IPL match going on. I think this is best match. We have to see it. Harikatha is recorded in YouTube. So we'll see it later. That later ever comes? It never comes. It never. So it neglects opportunities. We had opportunity, but we missed it. We had an opportunity to associate with somebody, we missed it. Why? Because mind told us to do something else. And then it denies realities. The mind is very distracted. It will just deny reality. It will always think about it will be better tomorrow, it will be better tomorrow, like that. We'll keep thinking, I have more time. It will give us thinking that we are going to live forever. So it denies reality, thinking that Oh, maybe he had problem, but I may not get that problem. We see people dying, when yakshas, in Mahabharata, the story comes when the Pandavas, when they were living in forest, Yudhishthira asked his brother, say, can you fetch some water from the nearby pond? So Sahadev and Nakul goes to fetch some water. They don't return. So Yudhishthira says, Bhim, can you go and look? I mean, it's been a long time. They have not come back. Go and see. And then Bhim goes. After he also doesn't return. And now Yudhishthira is worried. He says, Arjun, can you go? I mean, all three have not come. Something is not right. Please go and see. Arjun also doesn't return. Now Yudhishthira is really worried. He starts looking for all four brothers. He goes to the water body and sees all four brothers are dead, lying dead in the water body. So he doesn't know. So he tries to fetch water and say, I will sprinkle on them. The moment he tries to fetch water, a yaksha comes out of the water body and gives warning. Hey, stop. Don't do that. This is my water. Without my permission, you cannot. So he says, did you do this? He says, yes, because they did not follow my instruction. They're trying to fetch water without my permission. So they have resulted in this situation. He says, but water, anybody can fetch. So what's the problem? No. Okay, so what do I do? Well, you answer my questions. If you answer my question, then I will allow you to fetch water. Yudhishthira is Dharmaraj. He is all knower of everything. So this Yaksha asks questions. One of the very important questions the Yaksha asks. He asks like many questions, but one of the most important questions asked. He says, Kim Ascharya. What is the biggest Ascharya kya bole usko? Surprise or surprise? Yes. Huh?
Mithya.
Not mithya, but not surprise. Basically, Ascharya. I'm trying to use the right word for that. It says Kim Ascharya. What is the biggest? Okay, we'll go with that. Will bewilderment people have? Huh? Yeah. What is the biggest wonder of this world? What is the wonder of this world? So Yudhishthira says, everybody is seeing that everybody is dying. But still they think that I'm not going to die and live life accordingly. This is the biggest Ascharya. This is the wonder. People thinking that everybody is dying, but I'm immortal. I will not die. So this question was answered by him. That is what is happening. People are not taking it up to bhakti because of thinking, I have so many years to left. I'm just 40 years. I have 60 years to live. But you never know. When the COVID struck, people in the age of 30s, 20s, very young age, people died. And nobody thought. And they are all not like, they are like very weak and diseased, very healthy people. They all died. So has anybody thought that they will die? No. But that day occurred. So that's a Kim Ascharya. So we should not at least be living that illusion that there's a lot of time. I have a lot of time. That's what the mind does. So when we look with the mind, we have to look at the mind first. What are you looking at it? And make sure that it does the right thing. The self-introspection about anything that gets attached to us should be done. So here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this sloka comes where he says that we should continuously remember Krishna. Why? Because he is the origin of everything. He is the origin of everything. That's why we should constantly remember Krishna all the time. So this is even the Shastras confirming that how we should do this, why we should do this. So only when we read Shastra, then this will get revealed to us. Otherwise, this will not get revealed to us. Right? So how to train the mind? Prabhupada says, our tongue should be trained to speak about Krishna. Meaning Krishna Katha, chanting, singing bhajan, those kind of things. and avoiding any kind of gossips. And at the same time, we should eat honor only prasad, like eating in restaurant should not be done. Only bhoga which is offered to Krishna, no onion, no garlic, no meat, those kind of food should be taken. Then it will, our tongue will be trained, and then it will not do any stupid activities. Then we should not have any unnecessary motive and desires. And because of the desire, what we do, we have to work very hard. The extra endeavor is being put. And instead of putting our time in bhajan, we are spending in work. Following the instruction is one of the very important things that is being repeated every time. That following what is being told in the Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. These three people, these three things, instruction given by these three must be followed at all the time. So that is important. And of course, Prabhupada talked about 4 regulative principles that everybody should follow. And how to do? One is to live in Vrindavan. Now, obviously, Vrindavan has a limited space. Physically, we cannot live in Vrindavan. But even living in America, we can say, I'm living in Vrindavan, thinking about Vrindavan, making our home like Vrindavan, where we are doing bhajan, we are chanting, we are eating prasadam. So devotees are coming, associating with us. So that becomes a Vrindavan. Because now we are meditating upon Vrindavan only. So this thing should be done if you want to advance in Krishna consciousness. So let's go to this. So this particular shloka, let's recite this word, because this is, is going to talk about, let's recite this word first. Vaidya Bhakta Adhikari Tu Bhava Vibhar Bhava Virbhavanavadi Atra Shastram Tatha Tarkam Anukulam Apekshate. Have you able to see this? Can you read us?
Yeah. Those qualified for Vaidhi Bhakti are dependent on the rules of scripture and favorable use of logic until the appearance of Bhava Bhakti.
Yeah. So this is being talked about like, Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi means we have to have some sadhana where the spontaneous things are not happening. We see Japmala, but we say, I have already finished my round, so it's okay. I've done, so now I'm done for the day. Okay. I'm seeing books here, but I'm not picking it up. Well, I have today morning we read, so I don't need to read it again. So that's what happens, because it's a Vaidhi, means we need a force, we need some support. But even by doing this, little by little, we will develop taste for Krishna. We'll develop for chanting. This is very important. We have to, what is basically Shloka is telling, we have to give up all material motives and desires. We have to give it up. It says another thing, that engage in the regulative devotional service. What is regulative devotional service? According to scripture, chanting, right? Hearing katha, reading scriptures, these things associated with devotees. These are the things that are prescribed in the Shastra. Those things should be done. And of course, following the regulative principles is very important. Without that, bhakti will not fructify. So when we do this, then we will develop the taste. So how it will come? Let's look at this. So first, Shravana Dasha comes. Shravana Dasha means we hear, right? Then Varana Dasha comes. So let's read what all this Dasha means. So Shravana Dasha means constant hearing and chanting is happening. Constantly we are hearing and chanting at the time. So this Dasha will start happening when we start doing this bhakti, when we start hearing. When we hear about Krishna, this development happens. Then we, Varana Dasha comes, mean acceptance, attached to hearing. We get attached. Then nobody has to tell that, Prabhu, there is a katha going on. No, we search where is katha going on. Where is the class going to happen? Oh, today is Sunday, let me hear some lecture. Where is the temple lecture happening? Where is the program? Oh, I want to go there. That attachment comes in. No reminders are required. And then we are chanting the ecstasy. The next level is we are chanting in ecstasy, where we are thinking so much about Krishna and continuously chanting. Then what happens? Then we become in a samadhi, like, we are always absorbed. So much we are absorbed. And we have seen people who take samadhi, they are like, they don't know what's happening around them. What is happening around them? Nobody knows. At least they don't know. And they are only focused on Krishna now. So this is called Apan Dasha. And then because of this, we reach to Sampatti Dasha. Sampatti Dasha. So these Dasha, again, in the Shravan, Smaranam Vasta, there are 5 things are there. One is that how Smaranam will happen. One is interrupted remembrance. Means we have to force ourselves to remember something. We don't remember constantly. Somebody has to force, something has to happen. External stimulus can come and then we can start remembering. Second is absorption, meaning that uninterrupted thinking about Krishna all the time. After that, it happens like we are concentrating so much. For example, when we are solving a problem, what are we doing? We are absorbed in solving. We don't know what's happening here. We don't have to remember. Somebody doesn't have to remind us, please do this. So that kind of absorption comes in. Once we do that, then we'll go to the next stage of meditation, where we are concentrating on something and doing it. Meaning when we are chanting, we are only chanting. Concentration is only in the Krishna now. We are thinking about Krishna, Krishna Leela, Krishna pastime, Krishna's name, form, all the things we are thinking about. So meditation is going on at the time. When we do that, we constantly remember whatever we are doing something else, but we are thinking about Krishna all the time. Like Brajvasis, they were doing their regular work. Every day they were doing, but they were always thinking about Krishna. How can I do this for Krishna? Will Krishna be happy? Will Krishna come today? Can I see him today? They're always thinking about that all the time. And then we get into samadhi. If we are spiritual trance, we only direct connection happens. So these stages are coming when we start, we have to train our mind with that. Without training, this is not going to happen, right? So in 294 and 295, it is mentioned that from Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti to spontaneous love, how we can go there. That's what is mentioned here. So in the interest of time, let's keep the Sanskrit, let's read the translation. But it is too small, so maybe, are you able to read? See, Robert, can you see that?
Yes, Prabhu.
Can you read it?
Yes. A devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Braja and always engage in Krishna, Smaranam, Janam, Tasya, Kristan, remembrance of Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following in the footsteps of such associates and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So what is saying that we should live in Vraja, which is, if not physically, mentally, we should live there. Second, we should take shelter under advanced devotee, so we know what to do, what not to do. Regulative principles are there. Then we should absorb in the remembering Krishna and his associates, thinking about Krishna, his Leela, Radharani, pastimes, all this. So we can remember only when we have read about it, when we have heard about it, then we can remember. Otherwise, it is not going to happen. And following in the footsteps of the great devotees, then these things will happen. So this is how we can train our mind. If you think about this one here, again, this is too small, so I'll read this. Like, in the transcendental realm of Braja, one should serve the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, with a feeling similar to that of his associates. And one should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stages of sadhana, spiritual practice executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God realization, when one is a siddha, purush, or a spiritually perfect soul. So what is being told is that our bhakti should continue nirantar, regardless of what advanced stage we are in bhakti. Either we are a neophyte, very new devotee, we just started chanting, or we are chanting with a lot of devotion, a lot of love. That bhajan should continuously go on. It's not that, oh, now I have become Nitya Siddha, so I'll stop. So that's what I'm saying, that when we chant, we chant 16 round. After that, okay, I'm done. It's like we have victory and we don't want to do further. So how do we do this? Some practical tips are coming in here. So basically we should chant every day, regardless of what it is. Whatever prescribed round that we have, we are chanting, whatever round we are chanting, we must chant. And slowly, gradually, we should try to increase and advance. At the same time, if we are advancing in the age, then we are nearing, what, right? We are going to finish our life very soon. So means we should do more bhajan. We should increase our rounds. Then hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. This is very important activity because it is every shastra, everywhere it is mentioned that why hearing is so important. I'll tell you a story, and this is a real story. So in India, when a son becomes a brahmachari or goes to ashram, the parents are not very happy, because they think, oh, who will take care of us? Oh, I want to see grandchild from my child, and they feel like this is not very favorable. So one of the young boy become brahmachari in temple. So his father was not happy. So he will come to the temple, but for what? To finding faults. Saying that, see this, I told you that because of this you should not be here. They are making you sleep on the floor. They are making you clean your toilets. What kind of life you are living? This is not good. I told you. Like that, he'll keep to find faults, and then he will tell his son that why you should come back. Yes, because see, there is no perfect place in this world, right? Everywhere you will see some small problem. So we'll come to do that. So this brahmachari was a young and new, so he told one of the senior brahmachari, can you please, because as a brahmachari, because they have a relationship. He is brahmachari, but they are father and son. So son obviously cannot, too much lecturing to his father. Please do this. He can only tell few things, but because of that sambandha that they have. So he was bound by that relationship. So he tells another senior brahmachari, can you please, talk to him? He says, okay. So he talks to him. The senior brahmachari talks to him, and they all talk. And then somehow he convinces him to come for Bhagavatam class. So he comes to Bhagavatam class and he starts hearing. But with what mind? To find faults. Even in the class, he comes to find faults. Because in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, there is a verse which basically says that if you are doing very nice bhajan, you don't have to worry about your father, everybody. Everything will be taken care. But who has seen this? Nobody has seen. So he says, oh, see, all this is wrong. He will think like that. So he will come to find faults like that. But because of this constant hearing of katha that he was doing, even to find faults, the heart started cleaning up. And in few years, he took initiation. He became a devotee, he took initiation. This is a true story. So we can see that how listening, hearing the katha has impact. When we hear katha, it has got a huge impact. Therefore, we should always read Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam is the first step of our bhajan. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Shmaranam. So Shravanam, first hearing. Therefore, hearing is very, very important, right? And also in the 44th shloka in the 3rd chapter of 1st canto, it is mentioned that one should hear with rapt attention from the real person. That's why when we hear Prabhupada, when we hear his disciples and their lectures, we get so much benefit. Even if we do not understand some point, the benefit comes our way. So let us talk about some examples. So can you give examples from Shastra about those who are listening very attentively? One or two examples. Yeah, Arjun was questioning and all the. I'm talking about hearing. Of course, Arjun is one.
King Parikshit, right?
Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj. So when we say Shravanam, when we say the who is the Acharya for hearing, Parikshit Maharaj's name is given. Parikshit, yes. Yes. Go ahead. So Parikshit Maharaj was, when he came to know he's going to die, what he did? For 7 days, 7 nights, he did not sleep, he did not eat, he did do nothing. He was only and only listening with rapt attention. He was sitting and listening and asking questions. So that is one. So absolutely correct, Bhagavatam. He is sitting and listening from Sukadeva Goswami. Because he had only 7 days. If he has 7 days, what we'll do? We'll start making will. Okay, who will get money? Who will get this much? Where should I do? What should I do? This kind of things. I don't know what will I do, but that's what will come in our mind. That okay, I will tell my daughter where my money, what's the password. Nowadays, password without password, you forgot it. Everything will log, nobody can retrieve. So we'll say, okay, let me give you my password. Use this, take care. All this thing. We'll not do bhajan. But here, Parikshit Maharaj immediately gave up everything, start doing bhajan. What is the other example? Any other example that we can come to mind? So in Bhagavad Gita, who all heard Bhagavad Gita from Krishna? Bhagavad Gita was heard by who all? Who all heard Bhagavad Gita? When Krishna was speaking. Dhritarashtra heard, Sanjay heard. Sanjay, yes, Sanjay. So second is Sanjay. Sanjay is hearing Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because let us pay attention to what Sanjay is saying in the last 5 shloka of Bhagavad Gita. That will very clearly tell that how attentively Sanjay was hearing. Okay, so let us go there. So this is the Sanjay is telling about Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so I want this to be read. We have 5 shloka, 5 different people can read. So Ram Prabhu, can you read the first one?
Yes, Prabhu.
Please go ahead.
Only 74, Prabhu?
Yeah, only 74. We will have 5 to every get opportunity.
Okay, Prabhu. Sanjay has said, thus have I heard the conversation of 2 great souls, Krishna and Arjun. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what do you say? By hearing what happened, his hair was standing on his, and when we get excited, oh, goosebumps, my God, like that happens. That's what it is. Mata, are you going to see? Can you read? Yeah, good. Then you read Mata is next one.
By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directed on the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
Yes, ma'am.
Who came as they repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment.
He's saying, what are you saying? He's getting thrilled at every moment. Only when somebody is listening very attentively can all this happen. This kind of words don't come. Yes, Kunal, are you able to see the 4th one?
Yeah. O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I'm struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
Okay. Guru, can you read the last one?
Wherever there is Krishna, the matter of all mystics, and the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be affluence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
So here are some of the keywords which I highlighted here. So he is saying, I heard. He's saying, I heard the conversation. And he says, so wonderful that message that my hair is standing on my head. Because he is so much absorbed. So much absorbed. Dhritarashtra heard same Bhagavad Gita because Sanjay was also repeating. But what happened? Nothing happened. He in fact became fearful. He became fearful. He did not.
Was very
Yeah. Why?
elsewhere.
Because he was attached to his son. Because he is attached to the position of a kingship. He said, I cannot give it up. He has enmity towards Pandavas. So he couldn't get that benefit that Sanjay got. Then further what he says, I repeatedly recall this wondrous holy dialogue. I'm repeated. When we repeat something,
When we
like something. Exactly.
We enjoy.
When we enjoy. So he liked it so well that I whenever I repeat, and when he's repeating, what happens? He's getting pleasure and he's getting thrilled. Sometimes we ask somebody, in young age, one of my friends, when he say, oh, have you seen this movie? Like, Sholay was very famous in our time. He said, yeah, I've seen 20 times. Like, 20 times? Why? Oh, every time is enjoying. So this is like an repeating, but I'm getting thrilled every time. Even I'm seeing 20 times before it happened. We know that this is going to happen. I'm still excited. Oh, that's the excitement Sanjay is getting. These kind of excitement can only come only if somebody is heard very attentively. And the last he says, I remember the wonderful form of Krishna because he was able to hear and see that. I'm struck with wonder more and more. And I rejoice again and again. And he says, this is my opinion. Means he has heard everything and he says, this is my opinion. So this is the power of hearing. And what kind of hearing should be there? With a rapt attention. Means no deviation. We are only hearing. When we are hearing, mind is going everywhere. Isn't it? What's happening in India? Oh, this is what is happening. Where we think of our home, in office. There's something going on in the office. Oh, weekend we have got this work. Tomorrow we have to buy this grocery. Whatever the shop is going to open, you have to go there. This is happening. Mind is thinking. Mind is not in one place. Because mind is very chanchal. Arjun says in Bhagavad Gita, is that Krishna, I can control wind. I can control the movement of the sun. I cannot control my mind. Arjun, the greatest archer, he is saying this. So what to speak of all of us? Very difficult. But it can be controlled very easily by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we keep chanting, the mind is going to get attached to that name. This is very, very important point that we are trying to drive. And that's what will help us. Because this is the only thing which will help us. So what is the greatest obstacle in our life? Can anybody tell? In chanting, what is the greatest obstacle? Mind, concentration, mind, what else? Maya, okay, Maya. Maya is biggest. What else? Thought, problem. Distractions. Yes, all good, very good, all correct answers.
You think that you can do it tomorrow.
I can do it tomorrow, yeah. So we have procrastination. Procrastination is there. But Prabhupada says something very important. You want to hear what Prabhupada says? Interested? Yes.
Yeah, correct.
If you have to do it, you will do it.
Correct, that's what
you sleep at midnight or 2 o'clock. Tomorrow morning there's an interview. Will you wake up? Will you wake up and go or no? You will wake up and go, right? Why? That's important. Because that job will give me, yearly 25,000 more. So I need to go there. So biggest obstacle in achieving anything in life is we put limitation on ourselves. Prabhupada is telling, He's telling all of us, including me. He's telling me, you are the obstacle. He said. So this is the greatest obstacle. So we have to overcome, and only we can overcome this. Nobody else. See, our children are there. We are every day telling, "Beta, uth jao, wake up. They'll take time." All this thing. But when we think that when they will learn, but when they grow up, automatically they start doing on their own. So because of they were in ignorance earlier, because they think somebody is there and they're taking care, or like especially when the children are in a college and when they go to a hostel, because I lived by that kind of life, So in home you have a backup, like your mother is there. Hey, chalo, wake up, it's time. We get 2-3 calls like that. Even at the, we are at 20 years, we still get that call because mother has that affection. Father will treat differently. But mother will have that love. But when you go to hostel, what happens? There's nobody. And we have morning class at 7 o'clock. And we have to wake up.
One time you miss it.
One time you miss and then finished. You start taking bath in cold water. All this happens. Why? Because you start taking responsibility. Because who was the obstacle?
Yeah.
I was the only obstacle. So if you are not achieving anything in life, we have to think that the obstacle is me, not else. Prabhupada is very clearly telling, this is the greatest obstacle. So when Prabhupada was asked by, Prabhupada will always be interviewed by a lot of reporters when he comes to US. So he was asked, what do you get by chanting? So what did Prabhupada say? When we chant, what happens? Peace, okay? Control mind.
You enjoy it.
We enjoy. We enjoy means do what? What happens because of that? Transfer what? Because of enjoyment, what will you do? If you like something, what will you do?
You do more.
You do more. Exactly. This is what Prabhupada says. What do you get from chanting? Prabhupada says, more chanting. Why? Because you like it. Exactly. He said, you start enjoying. Means what? You do more. So this is the power of this thing. This is what happens. Let's look at something good and bad chanting. So this is good chanting, bad chanting. A good chanting will produce good chanting. Otherwise, bad chanting will produce bad. I'm saying this. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Ting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. This is what is happening. So we should, avoid this kind of chanting. Because why? Because our Goswamis are told, when I chant, I chant. That's it. I do nothing else. When I chant, I chant. When we are driving, we are driving. Right? Are we thinking about accident when we are driving? Anybody thinks about it? No. We drive carefully, but we don't think about the accident will happen. We drive carefully, but we are not thinking about accident. We are focused on what? Driving. In fact, those who meet with an accident, they have been asked once, people have been interviewed, what will you think? Why you think I'm going to meet with an accident, and they end up meeting with an accident. That's the problem. So we have to chant. We just chant, do nothing else. That's what is required. So our 9 stages of bhakti is very, very way to go forward. Like, Shravanam, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivrutti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, and Prem. So this process can be achieved by constantly chanting. And that taste will come by constantly hearing Harikatha. So hearing is very, very important. Very, very important. Because he says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So these are the steps of doing bhajan. Shravanam comes first. So we should keep hearing. The more we hear, the more we develop taste for chanting. That's why Prabhupada put, that's why Prahlad Maharaj says, first listen. Somebody immediately cannot chant, right? If you give chanting, somebody, can you please chant? I had difficulty in holding the bead itself in the beginning when I was given first time. How to hold it? Prabhu, how do I hold? How do I rotate? Can I move it one by one like this? No, you have to hold it like this, and you have to put your finger like now. It's even more difficult because you have to keep your finger out and then you chant. Why? Because we have never done it. No taste for that. But now we have a taste, so we can chant. So that's why Shravanam is very important. When we hear more, automatically a taste will develop. Because by hearing, by reading, even if we do not understand something, the cleaning process will work. The hearing process, the reading process is so beautiful that it will clean up our heart. Like there is a story about the Brahman in South India when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India during Chaturmas. He met with one of the Brahman, and the Brahman was holding Bhagavad Gita and crying. So everybody thought he's like a madman. He doesn't know because he was anyway illiterate. But he had a Bhagavad Gita with him, and he was just looking at it and it's crying. So Mahaprabhu says, "Why are you crying?" Well, because my guru told me to read Bhagavad Gita, but I cannot read because I am illiterate. But when I see this Bhagavad Gita, I see the picture of the Lord becoming the charioteer of Arjuna. I'm thinking the Lord is so merciful. And with that bhav only I'm becoming so overwhelmed. Because Lord is becoming a servant of a devotee. Can you imagine? It's like, billionaire coming in our home and doing some jhadu pocha kind of thing. Is it possible? Nobody will come. But Krishna is becoming, because his bhav grahi janardana. And he is doing this. So he says, you have understood Bhagavad Gita. Nobody else, even if somebody knows 700 shloka, it doesn't matter. Because you have not developed that love for Krishna. That person has developed love for Krishna. So that's what it is. So what do we get by this? Vaidhi Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, we can think of which rasa we want to serve Krishna. We get Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakhyaras, Vatsalyaras, or Madhuryaras. So in any ras, we can serve Krishna. Shantaras is like a flute, peacock, the cows of Vrindavan. It's like a Shantaras. Dasyaras is like his friends, Chitraka, Patraka, Raktaka, all those things. Sakyaras is Sridama, Sudama, all this is friends. Vasilas, of course, like, a lot of devotees have small Laddu Gopal and they're serving because there is a parental affection. So, like Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. And Madhurya Ras is like conjugal love, which is Radharani, Gopis, Manjaris, all this they are worshipping Krishna in this form. So, by constant hearing, we will develop taste for chanting. And by constant chanting, we will go from sadhana bhakti to raganuga bhakti. So that's a process recommended. And we should all practice this very sincerely. So with that, we will stop here and see if there is any question, comment, or any correction that anybody has. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu devacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo. Ananta Pariveshwaran ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai.
Jai.
So anybody
Hare
has any?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I liked what you talked about when you said, the scripture said that we should all try to live in Vrindavan, but we can't do that.
Right.
So you said we can bring Vrindavan right to our place and try to overlay Vrindavan like where I live. Someone practices that, right?
Yes.
I can see these trees at my house, like the trees in Vrindavan, the path through the forest. It could be like the path that Krishna walked, all that stuff. That's excellent.
Yeah, that's how we should think about it. We definitely cannot, we all cannot go to Vrindavan. And obviously Vrindavan has a limited space. So we should create Vrindavan-like environment in our home itself.
That's really nice. Yes.
Yeah, it's very important. That is what all acharyas claim, because living in Vrindavan is also not very easy. We need to have that mindset. We are living in Vrindavan, but thinking about what?
Material world.
Exactly. We are not thinking about Krishna. then better to live outside Vrindavan. At least that way we are thinking, I'm not in Vrindavan, so we are thinking about Vrindavan. When we are in Vrindavan, we forget and we start thinking, oh, I'm already in Vrindavan, so we become very casual about it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So we should do like that. Okay, so we'll pause here. So thank you very much, dear devotees, for joining. Thank you, Ram Prabhu, for joining online.